Mastering predictive analytics. Your organization's data is at risk without robust governance policies. Which data governance policies are in place to ensure secure data access and control data usage across the organization in support of predictive analytics initiatives? To ensure secure data access and control data usage across the organization in support of predictive analytics initiatives, the following data governance policies should be in place. 1. Data classification policy. Establish a data classification policy that categorizes data based on its level of sensitivity, confidentiality, and importance. This policy should outline the different levels of access required for each classification level, ensuring that sensitive data is only accessible to authorized personnel. 2. Data access control policy. Implement a data access control policy that outlines the procedures for requesting and granting access to data. This policy should include guidelines for user authentication, authorization, and accounting, AAA, to ensure that only authorized personnel have access to specific data. 3. Data encryption policy. Develop a data encryption policy that outlines the protocols for encrypting data at rest and in transit. This policy should include guidelines for encryption algorithms, key management, and data masking to ensure that sensitive data is protected from unauthorized access. 4. Data loss prevention, DLP, policy. Establish a DLP policy that outlines the procedures for detecting, preventing, and responding to data breaches. This policy should include guidelines for data monitoring, analytics, and incident response to ensure that data breaches are quickly identified and contained. 5. Data retention and disposal policy. Implement a data retention and disposal policy that outlines the procedures for storing, retaining, and disposing of data. This policy should include guidelines for data archiving, backup, and deletion to ensure that data is properly stored and deleted when no longer needed. 6. Data quality policy. Develop a data quality policy that outlines the procedures for ensuring data accuracy, completeness, and consistency. This policy should include guidelines for data profiling, data cleansing, and data transformation to ensure that data is reliable and trustworthy. 7. Data ownership policy. Establish a data ownership policy that outlines the roles and responsibilities of data owners, stewards, and custodians. This policy should include guidelines for data management, data sharing, and data collaboration to ensure that data is properly managed and utilized. 8. Predictive analytics governance policy. Implement a predictive analytics governance policy that outlines the procedures for developing, deploying, and managing predictive models. This policy should include guidelines for model development, model validation, and model deployment to ensure that predictive models are reliable, transparent, and explainable. 9. Data audit and compliance policy. Develop a data audit and compliance policy that outlines the procedures for auditing and complying with regulatory requirements. This policy should include guidelines for data tracking, data logging, and compliance reporting to ensure that data is properly audited and compliant with regulations. 10. Employee training and awareness policy. Establish an employee training and awareness policy that outlines the procedures for educating employees on data governance policies and procedures. This policy should include guidelines for training, awareness programs, and phishing simulations to ensure that employees understand their roles and responsibilities in maintaining data security and integrity. 11. Third-party risk management policy. Implement a third-party risk management policy that outlines the procedures for managing risks associated with third-party vendors and service providers. This policy should include guidelines for due diligence, risk assessment, and contract management to ensure that third-party vendors and service providers comply with data governance policies and procedures. 12. Incident response policy. Develop an incident response policy that outlines the procedures for responding to data breaches, cyber attacks, and other security incidents. This policy should include guidelines for incident detection, incident response, and incident reporting to ensure that security incidents are quickly identified and contained. By implementing these data governance policies, organizations can ensure secure data access, control data usage, and support predictive analytics initiatives while maintaining data security and integrity.